I'm Austin. And if I'm being honest, I didn't expect anything about that night to matter. It was just another weekday, routine, dull, forgettable. I'd worked a 10-hour shift, half the day buried under reports, the other half stuck in meetings that felt more like endurance tests than anything productive. My brain was fried, my back ached, and all I wanted was to go home, shower, and disappear into the couch with a cold beer in hand. Maybe catch the game if I wasn't too wiped out. But then I remembered. Jessica had her office party that evening. Some kind of team-building mixer for her ad agency. They'd rented out a loft in downtown Manhattan, one of those artsy, exposed brick spots with hanging Edison bulbs and overpriced charcuterie boards. She'd mentioned it earlier in the week in that breezy, offhand way she talked about most things these days. Oh, just a thing at work. I might be home late. No details, no spark. Like everything else between us lately, it felt like she was keeping her words on a short leash. Still, I figured maybe I'd stop by, surprise her. In my mind, it sounded like a sweet gesture. Romantic, even. God knows we could use a little romance. Things had been tense for a while now. Not the loud, dramatic kind of tension, but a colder, quieter kind. The kind that seeps in without you noticing, like a draft under the door in winter. We weren't fighting exactly, but something had shifted. Conversations were shorter, her laughs less frequent. She'd become distracted, distant, almost like she was somewhere else even when she was sitting right next to me. So I cleaned up, changed into something halfway decent, and told myself I was doing a good thing. That this was an olive branch, a reminder that I still cared, even if it felt like I was the only one making an effort lately. No call, no text. I didn't want to give her time to talk me out of it. I wanted to surprise her. I parked a block away from the loft. It was one of those brownstone buildings that had been converted into a sleek event space. Soft music drifted through the open windows. There was a doorman out front, which surprised me, but he let me in after I told him I was looking for my wife. I climbed a narrow staircase and followed the sound of clinking glasses and muted laughter to the second floor. The moment I stepped through the door, the vibe hit me like a cold slap. It wasn't just that the room was fancy or the people were dressed like they were auditioning for a lifestyle ad. It was the way the energy shifted the second I walked in. Before I even had time to find Jessica in the crowd, people started reacting. Conversations stuttered to a halt. Heads turned. One woman gave me a startled look and whispered something to the guy next to her. Another man, mid-30s, sharp suit, expensive watch, casually stepped in front of someone as if trying to block their view. Then I saw her. Jessica was standing near the bar, holding a glass of red wine. Her hair was pinned up, loose curls framing her face. She was wearing a black dress I hadn't seen before. Fitted, elegant, definitely not the kind of thing she usually wore to office parties. She looked beautiful, and completely caught off guard. Her expression shifted in slow motion, laughter dying on her lips, eyes wide, body stiffening like someone had yanked her back to reality. For a second, I swear she looked scared. Our eyes met, and she didn't smile. She didn't wave me over or say my name. She just stared, frozen, like a kid caught sneaking out after curfew. I took a step forward, but she didn't move. The guy next to her, tall, close-cropped beard, probably the one who'd made her laugh a second ago, looked between us and then casually slipped away, his hand brushing the small of her back before disappearing into the crowd. No one said anything to me, but their silence said enough. I felt the heat rise in my chest. Not anger yet, just a sort of confusion laced with embarrassment. I was the outsider, the uninvited guest, and everyone in that damn room knew it. I finally approached her. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. My voice cracked a little. "Thought I'd surprise you." She blinked, like she had to shake herself out of a trance. "Austin, what are you doing here?" The way she said it, not with joy or relief, but with this tight, panic tone, hit harder than I expected. "I figured I'd stop by, say hi, maybe grab a drink with you." She glanced around, like she was checking to see who was watching. "You didn't tell me you were coming." "Yeah," I said. "That's what makes it a surprise." For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. I could see her brain working overtime, trying to recalibrate, trying to paste on a smile. And when it came, it was all teeth and no warmth. I just wasn't expecting. It's kind of a work thing. I know, I said, shrugging. I won't stay long. Her colleagues were still watching. A couple had the decency to pretend they weren't, but the vibe was unmistakable. Like I'd wandered into a crime scene and didn't realize I was the victim yet. One of her coworkers, I think his name was Colin, junior account guy, tried to break the tension. "Hey, Austin, right? Good to see you, man." His voice was too loud, too cheerful, like he was trying to patch a hole in a sinking ship. "Yeah," I said, forcing a nod. "You too." Jessica was still stiff beside me. She hadn't touched her wine since I arrived. I noticed her hand was trembling slightly. "I'll just, grab a drink," I muttered, already turning toward the bar. I needed a second to breathe, to process. My chest felt tight. As I stood in line, I kept replaying the moment I'd walked in. Her face, her reaction, the silence. None of it added up, or maybe it all did, and I just didn't want to face the math. By the time I got my drink, Jessica had moved across the room, now deep in conversation with two women. She didn't glance my way once. I stood there for a while, sipping my beer, watching her from a distance. Watching how different she seemed, how effortlessly she slipped into that world. Laughing, talking, being the version of herself that I hadn't seen in months. The part that felt off wasn't just her reaction to me. It was everything. The way people looked at her, the way she looked back, the way she didn't want me there. Eventually, I left without saying goodbye. I don't even remember the walk to my car. I just remember sitting in the driver's seat, hands on the wheel, heart pounding in a way I couldn't explain. Like I just watched a version of my life that didn't include me. And for the first time since things started feeling strange between us, I had a thought I couldn't shake. Something's going on. I didn't have proof, just a feeling, but it was loud, and it wouldn't shut up. After that night, nothing felt the same. I told myself I was overthinking, that I'd walked into a room full of creatives who weren't expecting an outsider, that maybe Jessica was just startled, not guilty. But you know how your gut doesn't lie? Yeah. Mine started screaming, and once that switch flipped, I couldn't unsee what I'd been trying to ignore for months. It started with little things I'd brushed off at the time, but now, looking back, felt like puzzle pieces I should have paid more attention to. The phone. That was the first one. Jessica used to leave it lying around the house, on the kitchen counter while she cooked, face up on the nightstand, no big deal. Now, it was always on her, and when she wasn't holding it, it was face down, set to vibrate. I'd hear it buzz 3-4 times in a row, and when I'd glance over, she'd flip it over real quick like she was protecting state secrets. When I asked who it was, she'd always say the same thing, just work stuff. And when I asked what kind of work stuff required that many late-night texts, she'd shoot me this tight smile and say, "Deadlines don't sleep. Maybe I was crazy. Maybe she really was just swamped. Advertising's fast-paced, brutal. I know that." But then came the wardrobe changes. And not for me. Suddenly she was buying clothes I'd never seen her wear. Bold, stylish things that clung in all the right places. Dresses with cutouts, new boots, accessories I didn't recognize. Once, she came down the stairs before leaving for brunch with the girls, and I had to do a double take. "You're wearing heels to brunch?" I asked, trying to keep it casual. She laughed. "Since when do you care what I wear?" It stung. Not the outfit, the attitude. Then there was the perfume. Not hers, someone else's. That was the weirdest part. One night, she came home late again. She leaned in to kiss me on the cheek, and I caught a scent that wasn't familiar. Not hers, not mine, not anything we had in the house. It was sharper, muskier. Cologne. When I asked her about it, she barely blinked. "Oh, probably rubbed off from the elevator," she said, tossing her bag on the couch. "You know how cramped it gets." And I nodded like a fool, because part of me still wanted to believe her. But the cracks were showing. She was never home on Fridays anymore. Drinks with the team, client meetings, strategy sessions. One time, she claimed she was attending a late-night brainstorm for a luxury skincare client. Another time, it was a pop-up gallery opening one of her coworkers was involved in. I didn't even know she liked art. When I offered to pick her up, she always had an excuse. "I'll Uber. You don't need to go out of your way." "You sure?" I'd ask. "It's not a big deal." She'd smile, and her voice would get this edge. Light, but firm. "Austin, I'm fine." One night, I heard her come in around 1:30 a.m. She tried to be quiet, but our front door sticks. It always gives this little creak. I was pretending to be asleep on the couch, but I peeked through barely open eyes. She looked different. Hair a little tousled, makeup faded, that glazed look people get when they've had one too many drinks or one too many lies. She paused when she saw me. Our eyes met. Her mouth opened like she wanted to say something. An explanation, maybe, but then she just smiled and walked past me without a word. And the worst part? Even our dog had started acting weird around her. Rufus used to go nuts when she came through the door. Tail wagging like a fan, whole body shaking with excitement. But lately he'd stopped. Now he just looked up from his spot on the rug, yawned, and settled back down. Dogs know, man. They pick up on stuff we don't want to admit. I started keeping track of things, writing them down. I felt like a damn detective in my own house, documenting inconsistencies, saving receipts, trying to find patterns. Felt pathetic. But I needed to know. One night, I got up around 2 a.m. to grab some water. Jessica wasn't in bed. I found her in the office, lights off, just the faint blue glow of her laptop screen lighting up her face. "What are you doing?" I asked, keeping my voice low. She jumped, clearly startled. Slammed the laptop shut way too fast. "Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd get some work done." "In the dark." She smiled. "You know me. I don't want to wake you." But she didn't look at me when she said it. And her fingers were still tense around the lid of her laptop, like she was waiting to open it again once I left. That's when I started checking her calendar, the shared one we barely used anymore. The one we were supposed to use to keep track of each other's schedules. It was practically blank, except for a few off-site blocks that were just vague enough to be believable. Except for one. A 2-day conference in Philly. She told me about it a week in advance, said it was mandatory. I offered to drive her. She declined. I asked where she was staying. She paused too long before giving me the name of a hotel. I Googled it. No conference listed. Nothing scheduled that weekend at all. When she got back, she was quiet, overly affectionate, kept reaching for my hand, bringing me little things from the trip, a coffee mug, a t-shirt I knew I'd never wear. She kissed me longer than usual and said, "I missed you." I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt like I was watching a play and all the actors were out of sync. And the worst part? I still didn't want to believe it. I still wanted to think maybe she was just tired, just stressed, just drifting. That maybe I had done something to make her pull away. That I wasn't showing up enough, wasn't exciting enough, wasn't enough, period. But then I remembered that look at the party. The way she froze. The way the air in that room went still. The way people looked away from me like they were ashamed for me, or maybe ashamed of me. That moment kept replaying in my head, over and over. And each time it got louder, clearer. She's hiding something. And whatever it is, it's not small. It happened on a Tuesday. I remember because it was raining. One of those steady, cold spring showers that turns the city into a blur of umbrellas and honking horns. I'd just gotten back from running errands and was tossing my jacket on the couch when I noticed Jessica's coat draped over the back of a dining chair, which was weird because she was usually meticulous about hanging it up. I don't know what made me check the pockets. I wasn't looking for anything, or maybe I was. Maybe deep down, I was hoping I'd find nothing and could chalk up all my suspicions to paranoia. Instead, I found a keycard. Sleek, silver, and tucked into the inner pocket. No hotel branding. Just a magnetic strip and a small sticker on the back that said, Studio 8, Brooklyn, Guest Access, Huntley. Huntley. The name punched me right in the chest. I knew it. Not from life, from Jessica's work. I went to her agency's website and clicked through their team page. And there he was, Derek Huntley, creative director. New hire. According to his bio, he'd come from a top firm in LA, recently relocated to New York. A photo of him stared back at me. Smug half-smile, expensive haircut, confidence you could smell through the screen. I sat there, just frozen. That name, that keycard, the way Jessica had started working later and later, it all started locking into place. She'd told me she'd never been to that co-working space. I remember asking one night when she mentioned needing a quiet spot to take client calls, and she had shrugged. "Those places are too crowded," she'd said. "Not worth it." And yet here was a keycard with her coat and his name on it. I stared at it for a long time. I even placed it on the table and just watched it like it might start talking. My hands were shaking. It's wild how something so small, a piece of plastic, can carry the weight of an entire relationship. That night, I didn't say anything. I just waited until she went to bed, then took a photo of the keycard and slid it right back where I found it. The next day, I followed her. I didn't want to. Honestly, I felt disgusting doing it. Like I'd become the exact kind of suspicious, broken person I never wanted to be. But I needed to know. I needed to see it. Because the not knowing was worse than anything I could imagine. She told me she had meetings downtown. Said she might grab dinner with a client afterward. I acted like I believed her. Kissed her on the cheek as she left. Told her to have a good day. Then I got in my car and followed from a block behind. She drove across the bridge into Brooklyn and parked near the industrial district, close to a co-working building I'd seen before in passing. It was sleek and minimal, all black metal and glass, with those little keycard pads on the front entrance. I parked farther down the street and waited, keeping my head low. A little after 6, I saw him, Derek. He walked out first, wearing a tailored overcoat, sunglasses even though the sun had already dipped behind the buildings. He checked his phone and leaned against a car. Not a rideshare, not an Uber, his car. Then Jessica came out, smiling, laughing at something he said. My heart dropped through the floor. She touched his arm. He put his hands on her waist. They stood there like there was no one else in the world. No husband waiting at home. No marriage. No lies. Just the two of them, bathed in the gold of the streetlight, as if the whole thing had been rehearsed. And then he kissed her. Not a peck. Not quick. It was slow. Intentional. Like it had happened before. Like it was normal. She didn't pull away. I stayed in the car, frozen. My stomach turned. Couldn't look away. Felt like watching a movie where the twist wasn't just shocking. It was you. You were the punchline. You were the idiot sitting alone in the theater while the characters shared secrets you were never meant to hear. Eventually, they got into his car and drove off. I sat there for a long time. I don't know how long. I just watched the sidewalk where they'd been. Lit a cigarette I hadn't touched in years. The smoke didn't even taste right. Nothing felt right. I got home sometime after midnight. Jessica was already in bed. I didn't go into the bedroom. I slept, or pretended to sleep, on the couch, the image of that kiss replaying on a loop in my mind. She kissed him, like she used to kiss me. I didn't confront her the next day. Not yet. Instead, I printed out the photo of the keycard. I slipped it into a manila envelope. Then I added a copy of the agency's team page, with Derek's face circled. I wasn't sure why I did it. Maybe part of me needed it to feel official. Like I was preparing evidence for a trial. In a way, I was. And even though I still hadn't said the words out loud, I finally let the thought settle in my brain. Cold and heavy and undeniable. Jessica is cheating on me. It wasn't a theory anymore. It wasn't anxiety or projection or some marriage slump I could explain away with stress or routine. It was real. And there was no going back. The day after I saw her kiss him, I called in sick to work. I couldn't focus, couldn't sit through meetings, couldn't pretend to care about deadlines or project timelines. I stared at my coffee until it went cold, then dumped it and made a new one, then dumped that one too. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My chest felt like someone had stuffed it full of rocks. I had proof. Visual, physical, undeniable proof. The man, the kiss, the keycard. Still, the part of me that wanted answers, needed answers, wouldn't shut up. Why him? Why now? What else hadn't I seen? I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and started digging. Not into her phone. She'd changed her password a few weeks ago, because work stuff. No. This time, I checked something we did still share. Our finances. We had a joint account. Always had. It was easier, more transparent. That's what we used to say. We'd built this life together, and everything from groceries to mortgage payments flowed through it. But I hadn't checked it in weeks, maybe months. When I logged in, my heart stopped. Half our savings were gone. Not slowly, not piece by piece, but in several large, calculated chunks over the last 3 weeks. I stared at the transaction history, scrolling through the charges like I was watching a horror movie in slow motion. Wire transfer, $4,500. Third-party rental service, $2,000. Another wire transfer, $6,200. Deposit to Mod Creative LLC, $3,800. Mod Creative. That rang 0 bells. I clicked for more details. It was a registered freelance marketing entity under both of our names. I felt my pulse spike. No way. I picked up my phone and called the accountant we'd used for years. A guy named Perry, who handled both our personal and freelance taxes. He sounded groggy when he picked up. Hey Perry, sorry to bug you. I just have a quick question. Did Jessica file any new contracts recently? Like, under both of our names? He hesitated. Yeah, she did actually. About 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. I figured she mentioned it. Said you two were doing a side project together, some creative consultancy. She even sent over the digital signature form with your name on it. I stood up so fast my chair slammed against the wall. She used my signature? It was a DocuSign, he said slowly. Looked legit. I assumed. She forged it, Perry. I never signed anything. Silence. I see, he said finally. I'll flag the file and lock the account until we can review everything. You might want to talk to a lawyer. I hung up and stood there, staring at nothing. This wasn't just infidelity. This wasn't late nights and stolen kisses and broken vows. This was calculated. She hadn't just used my love. She used my name. She used my reputation. That contract had me listed as co-partner on a fake business I'd never heard of, using money I never authorized. And the part that gutted me the most? She'd been preparing for this. While I was still wondering why she wasn't kissing me goodnight anymore, she was building a new life behind my back, setting up financial independence, carving me out of the picture one fraudulent form at a time. I pulled up the name Mod Creative LLC and found a rental unit tied to it. A small loft space in Williamsburg, month-to-month lease, the kind of place you set up for long-term side projects, or for secret meetings. There were 2 names listed on the contract, Jessica Warner and Derek Huntley. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even move. I just sat back down and stared at the screen, feeling like my entire life had been rewritten by someone else. The woman I'd married, trusted, shared everything with. She was gone. Or maybe she'd been leaving in pieces for a while now, and I'd just been too blind to notice. That night, when she came home, she was all smiles. 2 smiles. The kind that's trying too hard to act normal. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Sorry I'm late. Big meeting ran long." I nodded, numb. "Everything good at work?" "Yeah," she said, kicking off her shoes. "Really productive day, actually." I just stared at her. She walked into the kitchen, humming something under her breath, and opened the fridge. "Do you want Thai tonight? I can order something." "You moved half our savings," I said, my voice flat. She froze, stood there with the fridge door still open, back turned. "What?" "I checked the account," I said, "and I talked to Perry." Slowly, she closed the fridge and turned around. "Oh," she said, blinking. "It's not what you think." That line again. That old, tired line. "You created a business in both our names," I said. "Filed paperwork using my digital signature. Transferred money into it. Signed a lease. All without telling me." She opened her mouth, but I kept going. "And I know about Derek. I saw you. I watched you walk out of that building with him. I saw him kiss you. I saw you kiss him back." All the color drained from her face. The silence between us stretched so long I could hear the clock ticking in the hallway. "Why?" I finally asked. She looked down. Her voice came out quiet. "Because I didn't think you'd understand." I laughed short, bitter. "Understand what?" That you were slowly draining our account while building a business with the guy you're sleeping with. I didn't. She stopped herself. I didn't plan to hurt you, Austin. You didn't plan to hurt me? I repeated. You just made a few spreadsheets, filed some fake paperwork, kissed your coworker, and oops, I guess that just happened? She didn't say anything. I walked past her and into the living room, grabbing the folder I'd put together, keycard photo, printouts, bank statements, the contract Perry flagged. I held it out. Here, I said. You can show this to your lawyer, because I've already hired mine. She took it with shaking hands. And for the first time in all of this, she didn't say a word. After everything, after the lies, the stolen money, the late-night rendezvous, I should have been done, emotionally checked out. And yet, I found myself still chasing clarity. Not closure, not revenge, just truth. That's when I thought of her, Derek Huntley's wife. I didn't know if they were still together. Hell, maybe she already knew. Maybe she was part of it, or maybe she was just another S***er like me. But something in me needed to reach out. Not to stir the pot, but because I felt like the only person who could truly understand what I was going through might be the one woman going through it with me, without even realizing it. Her name was Ellie. I found her through a few minutes of quiet social media digging. LinkedIn first, then Instagram. On her page was a photo of her and Derek, arms around each other at some black tie charity gala, smiling like the perfect couple. The caption read, "The one who's always by my side." That hit me harder than it should have. I stared at the screen for a long time, my thumb hovering over the message button. My stomach was in knots. Was I really about to do this? Was I going to blow up someone else's world just because mine had gone up in flames? Then I remembered the kiss, the keycard, the fake company, the way Jessica looked me in the eye and said, "You wouldn't understand." So I did it. I typed out the message slowly, carefully. "Hi, Ellie. I'm really sorry to message you out of the blue like this. You don't know me, but I think we need to talk. I'm Austin. I'm Jessica Warner's husband. I'm telling you this because I believe your husband, Derek, has been having an affair with my wife." I kept it short. I didn't vent, didn't attach photos, just facts, simple and honest. Then I hit send. She replied 30 minutes later. "Thank you for reaching out. I've had a feeling. Can we talk?" My heart was pounding when the phone rang. I picked up, expecting anger or maybe denial. But when she spoke, her voice was steady, clear. No dramatics, just sadness. We talked for almost an hour. She told me Derek had been distant for months. The late nights, the strategy dinners, the same type of rehearsed excuses I'd gotten from Jessica. She said he used to text her cute things randomly throughout the day. Now he barely replied when she asked if he'd be home for dinner. "I had my suspicions," she said quietly, "but I didn't want to admit it. I thought maybe it was just marriage. You know, the way things get dull." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Yeah, same here. But it wasn't just dull. It was deliberate." She asked me how I found out. I told her everything. The keycard, the co-working space, the kiss. She went quiet for a long time, then said something that stuck with me. "They both deserve the truth." I agreed. She told me she had found messages between Derek and someone named Jay, that the tone was flirtatious, vague enough to be deniable but in asterisk made enough to make her heart drop. She never had confirmation it was Jessica, until now. "I wasn't sure if I was imagining it," she said. "Like maybe I was just being insecure. But when you see something with your gut, you just know." That line hit me like a freight train, because I did know, and I ignored it. For weeks, months even, because it was easier to pretend than to confront the storm. "I'm sorry," I said, not even sure what for. "Don't be," she replied. "We're both victims of people who stopped choosing us." We ended the call on a strange but mutual understanding. Not allies, not friends, just two strangers bound by betrayal. She said she'd handle it in her own way. I didn't ask how. I didn't need to know. The next day, Jessica messaged me. The tone had changed. First came the accusations. "Why did you tell her everything? You went behind my back? That was private. How dare you?" Then came the flip. Let's talk. We can still fix this. I made a mistake. You don't have to throw everything away. But her words meant nothing by then. I'd already hired a lawyer. The paperwork was moving. Our finances were being untangled like two strands of string that had been tied too tight for too long. That evening, she came home earlier than usual. She walked into the living room like she owned the place again, like nothing had happened. "Hey," she said sweetly. I figured we could talk face to face. I didn't answer. She sat on the arm of the couch, too close, too casual. Her smile cracked when she realized I wasn't playing along. Then she flipped. "You know," she said, voice sharp, "you're not exactly perfect either. You've been flat, boring, predictable. You think being dependable is the same thing as being present." I didn't flinch. I just watched her unravel. "I just wanted to feel alive," she added, standing now, pacing. There it was. Not regret, not remorse, just justification. Like she'd been forced into this because I hadn't been interesting enough. Like her betrayal was some kind of artistic rebellion against domesticity. But I stayed silent. Not because I had nothing to say, but because there was nothing worth responding to. The words didn't sting anymore. Jessica wasn't someone I loved now. She was someone I had loved. Past tense. And the more she spoke, the more I realized something important. I was done mourning her. As she kept pacing and talking, flipping between rage and desperation, I heard my lawyer's voice in my head from earlier that week. "You're not just a victim of infidelity, Austin. You're a victim of personal and professional deceit. Don't let her turn this around." So I didn't. I stood, walked past her without a word, and closed the bedroom door behind me. She knocked once, then again, then gave up. The silence that followed was the most peaceful sound I'd heard in weeks. After I stopped engaging, Jessica shifted tactics fast. Started with cold, sharp texts. "So you're really doing this? Hope ruining two lives makes you feel powerful." Then came guilt trips. "You told her everything? You humiliated me. We can fix this if you just talk to me like an adult." It was wild watching her go from outraged victim to pleading partner within hours. Like she was cycling through emotions not because she felt them, but because she was testing which one might still work on me. But I didn't respond. I let the silence speak for me. She came home one night with 2 glasses of wine and that fake smile again. Sat beside me and said, "Remember that trip to Vermont? When we got snowed in?" I didn't say anything. She reached for my hand, said, "We're not broken. We're just lost. Let's find our way back." I pulled my hand away. "I already did," I said. "I found the way forward. It just doesn't include you." She froze, blinking like she couldn't believe it. Then, just as quickly, she got angry again. "Wow, after everything I gave you." "Yeah," I said quietly, "and everything you took." The last time I saw her, she was sitting on the couch in the dark, waiting for me. No makeup, no lies, just quiet. I packed my last bag. She whispered, "You don't understand how lonely I was."